I'll be honest with y'all. The first time I heard this story, I cringed. I cringed pretty hard at it. It's about a headless chicken that survived for over a year. And if that wasn't enough, I found out that this entire town still celebrates this thing over 80 years later. And I had to know why. So I dug a little deeper because this wasn't just a weird story anymore. It's a small town American legend. And the real story, it's not what you think. September 1945, outside of Fruita, Colorado, Lloyd and Clara Olsen were farmers and they were processing a batch of 40, maybe 50 chickens for the market. You know, just normal farm work. Lloyd would cut and Clara would pluck and clean. But one of those chickens wasn't quite ready to die yet. Now, it's not uncommon for a chicken to flop or stagger around for a few minutes after, well, you know what I mean. That's just the body shutting down from what I've been told. I've never actually seen it, but I'm sure it's a sight to behold. But when the Olsen family was finished processing for the day, there was one young chicken that was still alive. And the next morning, Lloyd walked out and found this headless chicken standing up, walking around, pecking on the ground like nothing had ever happened. And y'all, here's where it gets really strange. The axe must have missed most of the brain stem and it left one of the ears, the jugular vein, and the base of the brain that controls the motor functions. All of those were completely intact. And this chicken, he actually had a name. They called him Mike. Mike could still breathe, he could still balance, and he could still eat if you placed food and water directly into his esophagus. And Lloyd Olsen, instead of finishing the job, he decided to keep him alive, and he fed him with an eyedropper. Mike didn't just survive on that farm, but he became a genuine American celebrity. And where did he get his start? Just like anyone else who was getting ready to become famous, he started with a promoter. This promoter's name was Hope Wade, and he heard about this headless chicken out in Fruita, Colorado. And he convinced the Olsens to take Mike to the University of Utah. Scientists there formally documented what was happening, and they put it on record, and they confirmed it. And that's what turned this farm incident into a national story. From there, Mike hit the road. A ticket to see him cost 25 cents, which would be about $2.50 today. And at his peak, he was pulling in 600 people a day. Life magazine featured him in October of 1945, and between tours, Mike came back home to Fruita, back to the farm, back to the rest of the flock. He just kept living, just as if everything was normal. But here's the part that got me. When Mike finally passed in the spring of 1947, Fruita didn't just let him go quietly, but they held on to this story. And Clara Olsen, she did exactly like what a lot of families did in that time period. She was keeping a scrapbook, ticket stubs, letters, photographs, everything. She kept everything. And she didn't want the world to forget about Mike the Headless Chicken. And because Clara didn't forget, the town of Fruita didn't forget either. That tells you everything you need to know about this town. And today, Fruita still throws a full festival for Mike every single year. Parades, games, families everywhere. This all started one morning on a farm in 1945, and people are still making the drive to Fruita today. And if you want to see it for yourself, the festival is coming up the end of this month in May, right there in Fruita, Colorado. 80 years later, and this town is still showing up for Mike the Headless Chicken. And if you've been watching these stories week after week, but you haven't subscribed yet, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and follow along for the ride. There's so many more stories out there, and we're just getting started. Have a great day, y'all, and I'll be talking with you again soon.